It's Tuesday, October 26, 2010. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Civilization 5.
Let's do this.
So I discovered in filling out some government forms today that, in fact, the people living one floor above me in my building have a different zip code from me. And in fact, the people living on the ground floor have a different zip code yet again. There are 9 zip codes in my building.
How many floors are there?
15.
Oh, so some floors have the same and some have different.
There's the floor under me has the same zip code as me. But the next
thing
floor
is,
up is a brand new zip code.
I don't understand. Is it a different on the final 4 digits, or is it actually the first 5 digits?
The final 4. What do you think is the first 5?
Yeah, well, then it's not really a different zip code.
Well, it is. That is part of the zip code.
It's a different zip plus 4. There's a reason it's not zip code. It's zip plus 4, right? If the plus 4 is different, that doesn't mean anything. It's like, okay, yeah, everyone, plus 4s are like they change every few houses. It's the...
Actually, it depends on where you live. Like
the actual zip code, the first 5 digits, is 1 per post office,
in many
usually.
sparsely populated areas, the last 4, they actually don't change nearly as often as you'd think.
It's because there's less people. But
exactly.
We're in a city, so that makes perfect sense for the final 4. It's not a different zip code. It's a different plus 4.
The plus 4 is part of the zip code, Scott.
No, it's not. How come they don't just call it the zip code? It's the zip.
Well, because the plus 4 was
the plus 4 is an additional thing that is not part of the zip.
No,
the zip is the 5.
It was added to the zip. You don't know anything about the zip code. What's it even stand for, Scott?
It doesn't stand for anything. It's zip. It's to go fast.
Anyway, you got any video game news?
Oh, you're just rushing right to the news. Alrighty.
Well, because you don't know anything about zip codes.
I know everything about zip codes.
We can't have this discussion.
What do you mean? But there's no discussion to have. A zip code, there's 1 number per post office usually. And it's that way they know which post office to go to without having to look at the address. And then they only look at the address when, they're actually at the post office, and then they can know which house to go to.
Actually, there's a lot more to it than that, but anyway.
So, let's see, video game news. You know what? Why don't we talk about the plastic instrument games?
All right. I'm amazed that they're still going as strong as they are, but they lost a lot of steam. Like, they don't get nearly as much press and play as they did a few years ago, but they're still very popular.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like you figured that this would be a fad that would go away. And I think some of the reason it hasn't gone away is that it's sort of fun for everyone to do it, but most people get bored with it after a time. But there are some people who are just way into it, right? So that's all right.
Well, much like DDR. DDR reached pretty surprising highs back at the peak of popularity.
Yeah, DDR went way up, and then it went way down, but there were still some people who are way into it and will still do DDR forever.
There are now more DDR machines in the Midwest than there are in, like, California and New York combined.
Yeah, anyway. So... the plastic instrument games are sort of the same way, but I think also they're being helped because, A, they're a little bit more accessible than DDR, and the music keeps people, they keep releasing the DLCs that keeps people engaged. And people invested in these plastic instruments. A lot more people invested in those than invested in dance pads. So because they invested in the plastic instruments, they want to keep using them. And if they just sit there, it makes people feel guilty.
Yeah, but at the same time, a lot of people claimed that the main reason the games were popular was because of the Rockstar Fantasy, which is a big part of the games. But I still maintain that the primary reason most people were playing, not necessarily the hardcore fans, but like the family or like that, because even like people at my work, like older people just have, they have one of the games and they play it every now and then, like when they have people over as a diversion.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they play it because it makes listening to music a more active activity. I don't feel like many people, at least in America, in current modern day, listen to music as an active activity. It's always a passive secondary activity.
Yeah, it used to be that you would get your hippie friends around, and you would sit in a van or in your basement or whatever.
Down by the river.
You'd put a record on, and you would sit around listening to the record, right? And that would be an activity that you would do with people.
Of course,
like
go further back.
Would do that.
Go further back, and the common thing to do was the neighbors would all come together, sit around the piano, someone would play a song, and you'd all sing it.
Yeah, well, that's singing. That's different.
Yeah, but that was actually a very common activity among just families and people when they were bored until, we had records.
Yeah, but, listening to music as an activity, just listening, not playing, not participating, not karaokeing, not lip syncing, not writing, it really is only sort of done in present times, in this society at least, if it's a concert, right? People don't, or they do it as not as a group activity, but as you constantly have music playing on your computer, on your headphones.
But then they're doing something else. They're not really thinking about it.
Yeah, it's not, listening to the music is not the primary activity in that case.
Now, at the same time, there's definitely, I mean, people listen to a lot of music now, and there are the audiophiles and the audiophiles, and just people who are really into music who, do that sort of thing still. I mean, I'll occasionally sit down and listen to an album as an activity, much like I'd watch a movie. But I feel like the music games in particular gave someone an excuse to listen, like really listen to and be participatory with in some fashion, like old Led Zeppelin that otherwise they wouldn't listen to, or they'd hear a snatch of in the background on the iPod.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Rock Band 3 is coming out, and, I'm sort of done with the plastic instruments. I bought Guitar Hero 3 for the Wii.
Yep.
We played it out. As much as we were going to play it. I only have one plastic guitar, didn't waste money on extra ones.
Well, it amazed me. Like, I knew I would get sick of it. Like, I knew, all right, this will be fun. Eventually I'll get sick of it.
It actually lasted quite a while. Well worth the money that was
spent
spent
on it. But it lasted far shorter than I expected. It took me about a month and a half, and then I was like, and I kind of stopped doing it. And then after about 3 months, I was completely done.
I think it lasted about the amount of time I expected.
Compared to, say, DDR, which I'm actually playing more now than I have recently.
Well, I think also part of that problem, right, was that we had the Wii version, which did not constantly add new songs, whereas the DDR, there were frequent updates that did not require changing of the equipment, right?
Well, that was only because we pirated the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess we didn't pirate the Rock Band or a Guitar Hero or anything.
No, and they didn't come out with more Guitar Heroes for the Wii either. Right?
But even then,
if we would have started, for example, with Rock Band 1 on the 360, there would have basically been constantly new stuff. The game would just keep getting updated, and if we had kept playing it every day and actually paying attention to all the new stuff, we probably would have remained hooked. Especially because it had 4 instruments to switch between. There's a lot more value to, you could play the guitar, then you could play the drum, then you could do the singing.
Yeah, but at the same time, the experience was fun at first because it was this act, we're playing on the easier modes. I'm active and I'm engaged in the song that I'm also listening to as an activity. And then as I played and I started getting to the higher difficulties, DDR had the physical aspect, the exercise aspect, the full body movement, really getting into it. But plastic instrument games, with the exception possibly of the drumming, which I actually do kind of enjoy because it's kind of like real drumming, started to ring more and more hollow and just started to feel like I was really wasting my time.
Yeah. It also was, DDR on stupid hard. You can get pretty hard on DDR where it's still doable, but stupid hard in the guitar portions is just beyond anything that's worth my time to bother to master.
Of course, neither one of us ever mastered the ultra hard DDR either. We can do maybe half the 9-footers, and I don't think any of us can pass more than 1 or 2 10-footers.
Yeah, but that's this is different. This is like anything on the hardest mode, forget it, right? So anyway, Rock Band 3 is coming out, and one thing apparently that Rock Band 3 has is they have Pro Mode. And apparently I was looking at Pro Mode, and in Pro Mode, well, it also has a keyboard, by the way, but Pro Mode is actually playing a real guitar, basically, kind of. They have a plastic guitar that you can buy that has a button on every single fret and every single string. So it's number of frets times 6 strings is the number of buttons they have on this thing. And the buttons are long, and thin, so you can, you can play guitar, kind of. You can play plastic guitar. And then at the bottom, they have 6 partial strings, right? The strings don't go all the way up the neck. They're just sort of only in the strumming area are 6 strings that you can pick and whatever. So it's sort of like it's a guitar, but it's not, because if you play it without Rock Band, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't make any noise or anything like that. So I'm like, that's actually playing guitar. Like, you could play that thing for just $150 in Pro Mode and learn a song, and then get a real guitar and played the same exact fingerings and hand whatever, and that would be it. You're playing the song for reals.
Yeah.
The thing is, for $150, you could buy a guitar. So why would I buy a guitar that only does Rock Band when I could buy a guitar for the same money?
I don't think a lot of people, have this kind of misunderstanding of how much guitars cost.
Yeah, if you want to buy a real guitar, like the kind that you're going to play if you're a professional, that's going to be at least $1,000, if not multiple thousands.
You
right?
want a guitar that kind of goes?
But you
$50.
You can buy an electric guitar with 6 strings
And an amp.
and an amp that will work, and in fact, usually also with like a bag to carry it in and all kinds of, all the stuff you need for a complete beginner that will work and serve you well to learn guitar for like $100, $150, less than that, right? I think Squier, Fender makes one, and Gibson makes one, and some other, every guitar company pretty much has one that's like the entry level beginner's electric guitar that comes in a box with an amp and the cable and everything that you need. So if they're going to charge $150 for this thing, it's like, well, screw that. However, I saw on YouTube they are going to sell another pro guitar that is an actual guitar, but is also a Rock Band guitar.
How does the Rock Band guitar thing work, though? Is it just MIDI and some sort of like?
I think. What do you mean?
Like, I wonder if I could just retrofit a real guitar to work with Rock Band.
Yeah, but you'd probably need some sort of device to do that.
Yeah, but that's something I could make.
Possibly you could make that device. However, they're going to sell a guitar that basically has the device in it already. That is also, if you just don't plug it into a computer or a console, is a guitar straight up, completely normal in every way. So depending on the price of that guitar, I may be interested, because suddenly, right, that hollow ringing is gone. It's like, hey, I can actually learn to play real songs with this thing. But it's also a real guitar that is not a complete waste of money, right? Because you buy a plastic instrument like this pro guitar they're trying to sell for $150, and you get bored of Rock Band. Well, you got this useless plastic guitar. But if I buy a real guitar that also happens to play Rock Band, I could buy the Rock Band game, play it until I'm not bored with it anymore, and then I have a real guitar. So even if I never use it to play Rock Band again, it's a guitar. It's useful. It's not a waste of money.
I predict a giant surge in the number of mediocre to guitar players walking into Guitar Center and playing Stairway.
I also agree that will happen. But I mean, it also depends, right? They're charging $150 for the guitar that isn't a real guitar. So the real one's going to be more, right?
Maybe not that much more.
But if it's only like $200, $250 tops, I might get it. But if it's like $300, fuck that.
I think it's going to be pretty low because they know their demographic. The demographic is definitely affluent, but the demographic is not wealthy.
Like if it's $250, I'd be a little shaky. I'd be like, maybe. I'd have to, the thing is the song list is looking pretty good, so I might go for it anyway.
Yeah.
But
and then you should buy it.
For $300, I just like, fuck that.
You should buy it. I'll come over to your place and we'll play.
I'm only going to buy one. You get to buy another one.
No, I'll take turns, single player.
No. I'm paying for it. So you can pay half, and then we definitely get it, even if it's $300. But actually, that would be really cool, though, if we had 2 of the real ones and played Rock Band. We could do, like, wicked guitar solo, and then other paired wicked guitar solo. That'd be sweet.
No, you got to do dueling banjos.
Oh, come on, how awesome would that be? That'd be the greatest, right? We'd have to do that if they actually came out, if it was the right price.
Yeah, the thing is, I think I posted this in the forum, but, I was a trumpet player and then kind of half a piano player for much of my life, and I was 50-50 on going to school for technology or conservatory. And at one point in high school...
Why do they call it a conservatory?
Because they do.
You don't know.
So at one point in high school, I didn't have any classes left to take, and I was really just waiting to go to college, and I already took every AP class, so I signed up for the orchestra, which was 8th period. And I just never showed up to the orchestra and went home every day, and the band instructor never really noticed that I was even on his roster, so he never thought to mark me absent.
Mm-hmm.
And about a month later, he noticed, and he told me that either I had to learn the cello or he was going to flunk me. And after a week of me attempting to learn the cello, he set me aside and said that I have what he likes to call stupid fingers and that he never wants me to touch a stringed instrument for the rest of my life. I then had to play the trumpet for the stupid orchestra for the rest of that year. So I don't know if I can actually play a guitar, and I don't know if anything will ever help me play a guitar.
Well, I mean, I played guitar when I was in 5th grade, right? And I actually was, I could do that, right? It's totally within my abilities.
Can you play Stairway?
Hold on.
There was some nice Stairway there.
I know, right? You like that Stairway. The thing is...
Or that was a phone call about football.
That's all right. No, I mean, I was basically, when I learned it in 5th grade, it was like, all right, here is the book, How to Play Guitar. And it's like, learn the 1st string, learn the 2nd string, learn the 3rd. You'd learn 1 string at a time. And then I got I was progressing at a steady rate until I went to middle school and stopped to play the clarinet instead. And that was it.
Well,
But
we'll see how you do. I mean, not to disparage, and I want you.
if I do, who knows?
I want you to buy this game and play it and learn the guitar, but the harmonica taunts you from a distance.
Yeah, but I mean, the harmonica did not have
Harmonica
a
Hero.
video game to go with it. So
Speaking of video games,
plus, I could always just resell the shit on Amazon if it's no good.
Scribblenauts was a pathetic disaster of a game.
I know, right? That was like this greatest idea, but the fact is, the actual I bought it. I paid real money for it, and the actual game was not. Was not what it.
I ignored the people who made it, and I ignored everything about it until Penny Arcade updated and Tycho talked about the new Scribblenauts game. And
there's a new one?
I'm going to quote Tycho of Penny Arcade. Super Scribblenauts features, and I am not joking about this. Why would I joke about this? The ability to use adjectives.
Uh-huh.
A metal cock. A chocolate cock.
But I mean, okay.
A female cock.
So wait, can I apply any adjective to any noun? Do they have every combination worked out?
Probably.
See, because that's the one thing, actually, Doodle God. You ever play Doodle God?
No.
So Doodle God is this game where basically you start out with the four...
It sounds like something a 5-year-old would say.
It's basically this little game. It's a time waster. It's not even a game. Where you have the 4 elements, earth, wind, air, and...
Oh, yeah.
And you combine them to create new elements, and you combine them to create new elements for, until you figure out, you find all the elements in the game. The problem with Doodle God is that it's really just a process of elimination, right? You just try every combination until and most of the combinations don't work. It says, nope, that combination doesn't work. The game would be much better if every combination did something, right?
Even if it did something bad, like maybe combinations that are bad hurt you or something.
Or maybe even if they just make the same exact thing or combinations of things you already have. Like, let's say person in fire makes fireman, and then person and
magma makes
like water and snake makes a hose, and then person and hose also makes fireman. Just you don't need to come up with exponentially more combination things.
I don't know why, but all I can think is I got a snake, man.
I fed some beer, man. So the thing with Doodle God is most combinations don't do anything, right? And Scribblenauts had a pretty large selection of nouns. It was pretty impressive.
But the nouns were not sufficiently differentiated. I make Zeus or Thor or Apollo, and they all do the same thing.
Yeah, there were really only a few things that were useful, like ladder and,
according to YouTube, there are only 2 things that were useful, the vending machine and the handcuffs.
Uh-huh.
Because you could beat every mission with the vending machine and the handcuffs.
Alrighty.
Spawn a vending machine next to the star, like handcuff the star, put it in, take the vending machine back.
Ah.
There was some dumb way. There's a video you can watch that'll beat every single level in the game.
That's cool. But anyway.
But the trouble with the game was that it shouldn't have, like it being a puzzle game was okay. But I realized the puzzles were boring, and all that I cared about was making crazy shit happen.
Yeah.
It should almost have been more of a sandbox game.
Well, you could just do it was a sandbox room. It was just this place you can go. I think it was on the home screen. You just do anything. It was a home screen.
Yep, but if they'd fleshed the game out more in that regard and less in the puzzle regard and just made interesting and crazy and wacky stuff happen.
The way to do it is multiplayer.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't have been online multiplayer. It's just been local Wi-Fi. You go to this big area with some other people on a double screen, and you're both standing there, and you just do stuff.
But it's kind of like, and Tycho alluded to this, and it made me realize that when I played old games like Quest for Glory, I remember the moment when I picked a lock. I was like, pick lock, and I tried to pick the lock. I sat there for a second, and I was like, and I typed pick nose. And it didn't just say, I don't understand you. It said, you deftly insert the lockpick into your nose and proceed to die of a brain hemorrhage, you fuckwit. However, if your lockpicking skill was high enough, it would say, congratulations, you have successfully picked your nose.
Yeah.
And there were little
You have unlocked the torrent of snot.
As opposed to the previous torrent of blood and brain.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was what would have made Scribblenauts as a raw concept great. The discovery of interesting things. And Scribblenauts was very, very, very wide, but very shallow. And the way they've implemented adjectives, as far as I can tell, is not actually any more deep. I don't think a metal lion is any different than a wood lion.
No,
Except
it sounds like they just...
maybe a wood lion will catch on fire, and maybe any condiment-based lion can be eaten.
Yeah, it sounds like they just had a list of adjectives, right? Like metal or wooden or whatever, and they just applied... It looks different, or maybe it has slightly different properties, right? Anything wooden will set on fire, And it's not like you actually need a wooden lion as opposed to a metal helicopter, to solve the puzzle any differently.
I would try to solve everything with flesh something.
Yeah, like, flesh
Flesh
stick,
handcuffs.
or like, a leaf.
Because they can
vending
even.
machine.
This is why role-playing games, like even Dungeons and Dragons, especially old D&D when the rules were kind of busted and fiddly and vague, was that, well, I guess not fiddly, because you do weird stuff, but because you had an I instead of an AI, the game master would make crazy things happen. You know how many times people would cast stone to flesh on just like a wall?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, all right, the entire wall is made of soft and supple flesh. Great, now what?
I use my sword to cut a hole in the wall that is now much softer than its former stone self. Yeah. Congratulations, this wall is actually the edge of the dungeon, and you find dirt on the other side of the wall. Good job.
But I feel like there is so much potential, and Scribblenauts barely scratched the surface, which is fine. Scratching the surface is fine. But the game is crap, and I don't know if Super Scribblenauts is going to. I don't have any indication that it's going to be any less crap.
It's just another game in the series of we have stuff that looks really good on the surface and is really good novelty as a demo, but isn't actually worth your money or a significant amount of time.
I feel like
see Lego Universe, see Batman, anything.
But here's the thing. Remember that talk we didn't actually go to at PAX years ago that pointed out that if you have a game with a demo, it actually sells much less, especially small games, because people get everything they wanted out of the demo.
Yeah, that's why this game doesn't have a demo.
However, the Scribblenauts had a demo in the sense that if you went to your hardcore
Scribblenauts
gamer
1 is a demo,
and you went to a convention, you could try it out at the con, and a lot of people played it at cons and were like, oh my God, I'm going to buy this game. And I think the reason it worked was that it was so wide that they didn't play it long enough to realize how shallow it was.
Exactly.
They typed Zeus and a god appeared. They're like, holy shit, it's got everything. And then they realized that Apollo and Rim all bring the same god
if
down.
you people, right? It's like, how they say, here's the thing, right? You know how they say you got to hook someone in like the first 30 seconds of a book, right? So let's say I write a book and the book has a whole 2 chapters that are awesome. But then the rest of the book is just the word fuck 100 times, right? And so even if you give someone a demo, that one awesome chapter is the demo. So they go, oh man, and they are really feeling they need more. So they rush out and buy it, and they read chapter 1 again, and they read chapter 2, and then what? Oh no!
Yeah, like when I read Fall of Hyperion.
Exactly. So that's what Scribblenauts 1 was. I played it a little bit. Then I bought it, and I played it even more, and it took about 30 to 45 minutes before I was like, So now that Super Scribblenauts is adjectives, I'm pretty sure that it would only take me 15 to 20 minutes to exhaust that. I'd be done.
However,
I haven't played it, though, so maybe there is something extra in there. I don't know.
I don't think so, but
I would predict not.
I am worryingly curious about his promise to try to install an IUD into a male shark.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Things of the day. I'm sure, we link to College Humor a lot, but they actually spun off a little site called Dorkly. That's the idea was, and they kind of announced this at PAX a while ago.
PAX East.
Yeah. The first PAX East.
Yeah.
That the idea was, College Humor does a lot of video game stuff, but a lot of times...
Yeah, especially those Mortal Kombat ones.
Oh, my God.
God.
And I'm pretty sure the guy who played
Street Fighter
Zangief
the later years.
in Street Fighter the later years was at the New York Comic Con dressed as Zangief.
Possibly.
There's no way it was not him. If it was, in fact, not him,
that was the best Zangief.
There's a guy who looks just like you who is also dressing up as Zangief in New York City.
Alrighty.
But they spun off Dorkly with the idea that, all right, sometimes we want to make the more gamery joke. Like the joke that...
Yeah, let's make a joke just like all these jokes we've been making, but is so nerdy that, you'd have to really be a nerd to understand it. A Street Fighter joke, most people can sort of get it. A Mario joke, a lot of people can get that, right? But if you make a specific joke about, a specific bad guy in Ninja Gaiden 2... then normal people are not going to quite understand it if it's an inside joke.
Yep. I
it
mean,
has a narrow appeal.
I even have to
like
explain.
Penny Arcade.
Even at PAX, I have to explain what fucking Shadowgate is whenever I use that torch slide that I'm so famous for using in every panel.
Yeah, right?
And I don't think many people actually recognize my I'll take you to a good place panel.
I'll take you to a good place.
So anyway, my thing of the day, this is just
I love I'll take you to a good place.
this is just one video, but there'll be a link to all the other videos. But Yoshi hates Mario, and it's short and well done.
Yeah. So if you ever a lot of people have been making video games. Almost everybody, right?
Almost everybody has been making video games.
That's right.
I don't believe that is in fact true.
A lot of people. And the thing is,
Scott, we haven't even made video games.
one problem.
You made a square that could rotate around its own axis.
I've made video games before, technically speaking.
Well-
I made an ad hoc networking multiplayer combat clone, and we got an A in a ad hoc networking class at RIT.
I made a Pong clone. I made a game where you tell a stick figure to sing, and then he sings. If you tell him to do anything else, he tries to kill you.
Yeah. I've made text adventures. I've made games that are just sort of broken and don't do anything.
Yep.
I've made all kinds of games. Anyway, one problem I always have making games is making the sound effects, right? Because it's like,
Pew, pew, pew.
yeah, what are you going to do? You're going to get a microphone and go pew, pew, pew?
Yeah, exactly. You know what you should do? Pull an anime like Voices of Distant Stars. Just do it yourself. Just go for it.
Yeah.
And if your game's good, you can probably at that point trick someone else to do the sound effects.
I mean, the other thing you do is you get like some sort of chip tune thing. You get the chip out of the audio chip from a Game Boy or a Commodore 64 or a Nintendo, and you just work that.
or you just emulate that shit and don't actually get the chip.
That's what I mean. You can emulate it,
Okay.
right? But anyway, to make it even easier than that, this guy has made something called it's at superflashbrothers.net, but it's called the AS3 SFXR, right? And basically what it is it's an emulation of one of those chips. It can make a square wave, a sawtooth, a sine wave, and a noise. Noise. But in addition to giving you all the necessary settings to fiddle with those waves, such as attack time, sustain time, decay time, frequency, slide, vibrato, everything, right? Phaser,
Portamento?
filter, low pass filter, high pass filter, repeats, it's got every setting you would need to make any sound that you can with
All right,
those
so
waves.
it's like a basic synth.
Yes, but on the side, here's the great part. On the left-hand side, there are 7 buttons, and the 7 buttons are as follows. Pick-up/coin, laser/shoot, explosion, power-up, hit/hurt, jump, and blip/select.
Does it start you with a basic default that's almost there?
No, it randomly sort of within this. Each one is sort of a limited parameter set, right? So it basically says a blip/select will have this setting between these areas, and it randomly sets it between those areas. So every time you click it, it plays a different blip/select noise at random.
Dude, I'm gonna blip/slice you.
Right, so if you need a jumping noise for your game, just keep pushing the jump button until you hear one you like, and then tweak it a little bit, and then push the export wave button, and boom, you've got a wave file of that jumping noise.
Not bad.
So if you're making a video game, especially a platformer that has these sort of, or a shooter or any sort of game like, and you want 8-bit old school noises, this is going to give you all the noises you need really quickly.
I still think you're better off going with the Scottish Ava philosophy of helicopter blade, helicopter blade, helicopter blade, helicopter
Maybe
blade.
if it was a poorly drawn stick figure game as opposed to a pixel game.
No, I want to see a game that looks like Counter-Strike, but is just pew, 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 pew. Put,
No, we should make a
reloading.
game that looks. We should make a
Reloading.
game that looks like Atari Combat, but sounds like fucking Star Wars in the movie theater.
We're not going to make any of those things.
Yeah.
So, meta moment. The book club book is World War Z by Max Brooks. It's about world wars and zombies and all that shit you kids like.
Yeah, I have an additional meta. It's probably a day too late on this, but basically, Malky and all these other people who are awesome webcomic writers, the Dinosaur Comics guy. Let's see.
I love dinosaur comics.
Yeah. Matthew Bernardo, Dave Malky, who's of Wondermark, and Ryan North, right? They made this book called Machine of Death. And it's a collection of stories about people who know how they will die because the machine tells them, I guess. And basically, they had a campaign to...
I imagine the book being every person goes to the machine and the machine says you will die by the hands of the machine and then it kills them.
That's not a suicide booth. So this book came out and the cover price is $18, but the Amazon price is $9.87. And they're having a special thing today. They pushed really hard. They said, hey guys, let's make this the #1 book on Amazon today, October 26, 2010. And sure enough, they did it. It's the #1 best-selling book on Amazon today, October 26, 2010. Of course, most people listen to our episode a day later because it's a night show, so it'll be.
So let's make it like the #8 book tomorrow.
Yeah, but
Yay!
regardless, I ordered a copy. I even paid shipping because I couldn't find anything else to get my order over $25.
I just made an Amazon order.
If you order quickly enough, it'll be added to your previous order.
My order already got shipped.
It
shipped the same day. God damn it.
Anyway.
I made 2 separate orders because I also pre-ordered a bunch of stuff that I've been meaning to pre-order.
Yeah, just order a copy of Machine of Death. It's probably going to be good. I mean, come on. It's got huge, awesome talents behind it. You know, best webcomic writers out there among them. And, you know, the cover art is really good.
Also, we're going to be at MagFest as part of the Mag 9, also doing at least one panel on our own called Losing Should Be Fun, which is an old classic, slightly updated.
Yeah, are we doing any other conventions? PAX East?
PAX East, we will be doing probably 2 panels.
You should get a hotel and a ticket today if you think you're going to go.
Yeah, all the good hotels are already sold out.
Yeah, you're already too late, but you can still maybe go, kind of. I don't know. I can't really think of anything else.
That's it. We're
right
gonna be at PAX Prime.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll be at Anime Boston.
Sure. Okay. So
Civilization 5.
We have played it enough at this point to do a show about it.
A little history. Civ games are some of my favorite games ever. I probably spent more time playing Civ 2 than I've spent playing any game in my entire life, with the possible exception of all Counter-Strikes combined.
I mean, I don't know if I can say that, but I basically, Civ 1, I played it like once or twice on a Mac at summer camp.
Civ 1, I'd never played.
I played on a Mac at summer camp once or twice, and there was no instruction book and no one helped me, so I didn't even know what the hell was going on.
In fact, someone gave me Civ 2, and I didn't know what it was, and I didn't have the instruction book. I just installed this hack copy.
Colonization, my friend had for DOS. I played it also once or twice, didn't know what the hell was going on. But when Civ 2 came out, I went and bought it on CD-ROM, and I had a 486, and I freaking played the hell out of it.
I played Civ 2 every day, and I'd put in my own CD so it would play my own music, and I would just sit there playing Civ 2 for
I love the music. I would try to get Leonardo's Workshop just so it would play the Leonardo's Workshop music with the video.
I tried to get Leonardo's Workshop because then
you
suddenly
could upgrade all your units immediately.
I got musket men and I got workers.
Yeah, I wish they still had that.
Engineers.
I wish they still had that shit because paying money to upgrade guys is not fun.
I would get every science I could until I had
It was so great
get...
because you just built 1,000,000 warriors. You got as many sciences as you could, and then built Leonardo's Workshop.
Leonardo's Workshop. Oh, and the pyramids, granaries, and every
granary and everything. They were so powerful. Good God.
No, they weren't really that powerful. I just didn't. I hated having to build a granary.
I'm just saying wonders in general were so much more powerful back in the day. Than
Great
they
Wall.
Are now.
Everyone has to offer peace.
Yeah.
All the time.
It's just like it was
I just
so
be like,
great.
hey, you want this war to end? You wanted this war to end?
I have a Great Wall. You have to offer me peace. You can't say no. I don't have to build a military because you can attack me. I'll just build settlers. What are you gonna do?
The game just had this beautiful balance between fiddliness and world building and abstraction that I would just play forever. And it didn't really have multiplayer, but I would play for like 4 or 6 hours in a row while on the phone, like a conference call with 2 of my friends who were all at their houses, 2 or 3 friends. They'd all be playing their own single-player games, and we'd just be kind of sharing the narrative of our empires as we went along.
Well, I didn't do that. But
we'd email save games to each other.
So Civ 3 came out a long time later. I was at RIT already. And I bought it as soon as it came out.
I didn't buy it. I didn't play it.
But I didn't really play it all that much because I just don't think it was as good.
I didn't get it mostly because Scott got it and he said it wasn't that good.
I mean, it was a significant improvement interface-wise and technology-wise. You know, it ran on more modern computers and it worked.
It introduced a lot of interesting new mechanics. That culture.
Culture, it was pretty nice. A lot of the things that were introduced in Civ 3 were carried on in Civ 4 and 5. But Civ 3 itself, I think really is sort of like the black sheep of the Civ series. It's like nobody still plays Civ 3.
It was a missing link, a progressive game between Civ 2 and Civ 4.
Yeah.
Civ 4 was a masterstroke.
Yeah, Civ 4 was basically Civ 2 plus this new stuff in Civ 3. It was like everything. It was like, let's put fucking it was like you go to the store and you look at the board game shelf and there's that one board game that the box is twice as big and has 20,000 pieces.
It'll say how many pieces it has on the cover, like that means something.
That's Civ 4. Civ 4 has fucking every possible thing imaginable.
There was a time where I played Civ 4 for my every train ride I had in both directions every day.
Yeah. I mean, I played some Civ 4. I got into the game late. I waited until Steam, it came out a while ago, but I didn't buy it until Steam had it for way cheap in a huge bundle.
Yep, you played a couple of games with us because
expansions.
you wanted to get back into Civ, and we all knew Civ 5 was coming, so...
I didn't want to kill too much time. And the thing is, Civ 4 was pretty much like, it was Civ 2 plus Civ 3 plus even more. That was what it was. And it was great at what it was. But at this point in my life, I wasn't feeling that. Not because it was bad, but because you basically had this, the fundamental things going on did not fit with what I was looking for in gaming, right? It's like you had to build 1 million units and manage them all. And because it has everything, it's like you got to worry about the religion and you got to worry about your money, and you got to worry about the taxes, and you got to, and I was just like, I do not have the time for this. I am, busy doing all this other stuff in my life. I don't have time for Civ 4.
Now, I still enjoy it, and I still say, if you want the short version of our review, Civ 4 will continue to be a relevant game because Civ 5 is not a replacement. It is a different game.
It is definitely a different game, and both are good games, but I think that Civ 5 has a place in my life where Civ 4 does not.
Civ 5 is a revolution, not to be confused with Civilization Revolutions, which is baby Civ.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to play Civ with your 5-year-old?
I have Civ Rev on my phone, and I had it for the DS, but it got stolen.
It's a little baby game.
It's a little baby game, but it's great to play on your phone. It's not good. I don't know why you would get it for the Xbox or the PC.
Nah,
but
you're like, I got a city. I got an army unit. The army unit's gonna go capture the barbarian. Yeah.
But I mean, actually, I think one good thing they took from Civ Rev and put into Civ 5 was the better interface, because Civ Rev definitely had a far superior user interface to any previous Civ. And
Civ 4 was pretty good.
It was okay, but
Civ 2 was actually great. It was just cluttered looking, but it was very usable.
Yeah, but I think Civ 5 really has it down, right? Because, I mean, Civ 5, a lot of people came to it from Civ 4, and they're like, oh, they were like, it's only slightly more than Civ Rev. It's like baby Civ with a little bit of stuff on it. But that's not true, I don't think. Civ 5 actually, I think, is just as, it doesn't have as much stuff, but it's just as, full of a game as any of the non-Rev Civs. The thing is they've simplified the user interface so much that it's just so much easier.
Well,
you don't open up the city screen and see 100 icons of wheat and can't figure it out. Instead, there's a green number that's like +5 food.
Well, here's the thing. This is the kind of fundamental change, and there are a bunch of articles saying basically the same thing. So you've probably seen them, but Civ 5 is more like a good German-style board game done with the complexity that a computer allows than it is Civ 4, which was more like a world-building simulation game.
Yeah.
And while they both serve both purposes, the fundamental difference in Civ 5, not that they changed the hexes or any of that, it's that every decision you make, every little thing you can do, like if you zoom in all the way and micromanage everything, every individual decision matters a huge amount.
Oh, yeah.
In Civ 4, the really zoomed in stuff did not matter that much unless you were trying to win crazy circumstances.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not so much the hexes, right? But it's the 1 unit per square. Every unit is really valuable. It took you 8, maybe, 14 turns to make that guy. And every turn is a huge deal, right? And now if he dies, oh shit, right? You just lost a unit.
Or look at buildings. In Civ 4, build every goddamn building as fast as you can.
Every Civ 1 through 4, it was build every building you can as fast as you can, while also somehow having one city that only builds barracks and cranks out military units.
Yep.
But in Civ 5, you don't need to build every building. You only need to build the buildings you need because the maintenance cost of that building is going to bring you down. Whereas, you could deal with the maintenance cost in the earlier Civs.
Yeah, but every building now does something that really matters. Like you build a granary plus 2 food. Oh, 2 food? Holy shit.
Yeah, and it wasn't, you look at what some of the buildings did in the previous Civs. For example, Aqueduct, right? They don't even have Aqueduct anymore, but it was like, you need an aqueduct to grow your city beyond X.
And then in Civ 4, it reduces pollution.
Yeah, but now listen, none of these buildings you need. You don't need any of them. You can choose to build them if you want to, right? So it's like, do I need happiness? Yes, I'm -3 happiness. Well, how can I decrease happiness? I can get rid of a city. I can decrease population somehow.
I think there should be more ways to get and lose happiness. The one thing
or I can try to reassign. I can stop growing to maybe, before I get unhappy to prevent unhappiness.
Well, one thing that is pointedly missing from this Civ
or I can build a Coliseum.
Is unhappiness due to continuing to be at war. There's no penalty from just staying at war with someone for as long as you want to stay at war with them.
Yeah, in fact, sometimes being at war makes you guys happier.
Yeah. But all that aside, think about with happiness too, they've made it a game where different styles of empires are much more viable. Like one really big city with a bunch of satellite cities works because things like the economy and happiness are global variables of the Civ. It's not like this city's happy and this city's unhappy and I got to deal with all that bullshit. It's my empire's X happy.
Yep.
Which made the game a lot more fun, I will say straight up.
It makes it so much more easier to manage, too. It
also made it less of a Boolean thing, where like in Civ 4...
And you hover over that happy face. This is user interface stuff, right? You hover over the happy face with your mouse, and it tells you where all of your happiness points are coming from and where you're spending all your happiness points in that one little area.
Civ 4 did that too.
Completely clear.
Civ 4 did that too.
But this is so much more clear.
But it was you hover over it. It was like +5 due to X, +2 due to Y.
Per city, though. This is for your whole
per
Civ.
city.
This is for your whole Civ. You can just see all your happiness in a little square. You can
also
see all your whole economy in this little square.
It's also no longer a Boolean state of like, oh, now they're unhappy. All the bullshit happens. You get unhappy, which just slows down the growth rate.
Yep.
And then you've got angry, which is now there's trouble.
Oh, big trouble. But yeah, I mean, that's the one thing, right, that we've always complained about is with a lot of board games, right, is we say, oh, man, this board game is a pretty good game, maybe, but it's got too many fiddly bits.
The Twilight Struggle. Fucking Twilight Struggle.
Or even if a game is not a good game, or it doesn't matter, but it has a big setup time. We got to set up all these pieces,
Yep.
Oh, it takes so long to set it up. I don't want to play it. Or, oh, God, the game takes so, right?
Even Puerto Rico, when we set it up, they're like, oh, it's already set up. We might as well play it 4 or 5 more times.
Civ 5 is that it's a German board game that is more complex than any German board game that you can buy on the shelves. But because they use a computer, instead of making you fiddle with pieces, it totally works. And because the user interface is so streamlined, you can process all that information, even if you don't have a huge brain.
Now, thus, a fundamental, for me at least, like gameplay mechanism design aspect that I've noticed as I've played, and I'm sure other people have noticed it too, and I think it derives heavily from this kind of board game style design, the idea that every decision should matter, that, even little decisions compound over time, and it's not just this kind of momentum thing of, I build this and build this and build this, I have to follow this progression everywhere, all this fiddliness. I really try to win, which is weird, because in Civ 2, I never tried to win. Like, I'm going to win the game with the victory conditions. I played because I just fucking like playing. In Civ 4...
Well, in Civ 2, there were really only a couple ways to win, right? Is you could win with the UN voting, right? You could win with score at the end of the game.
There was UN voting, I don't think could win the game in Civ 2.
You could win with the spaceship, and you could win by just killing everybody.
Yeah.
In Civ 3, they added like a cultural victory.
Civ 4 had a bunch of victory conditions.
And now they still have a bunch.
Yep.
They have the cut that you can build.
But here's the big difference. When I played Civ 4, I would just play to make my awesome empire, and then midway through the game, I'd get to the mode where, all right, maybe I'll try to win. What victory condition should I go for? In Civ 5, against the computer or against humans, every round I'm thinking, how am I going to win?
Oh, yeah.
How am I going to win the game in the end?
Absolutely.
Am I going for culture? Well, I got to do this. What am I going to do to win? My brain literally shifts into board game mode every second that I'm playing Civ 5.
I've just started playing the game in the hex view.
I don't, because my video card is not up to the challenge.
Wait, you can't. The hex mode is easier on the video card.
No, the hex mode actually gives me more trouble.
Really? Because on my laptop.
Wait, it gave me more trouble. I just installed an NVIDIA update that I didn't realize I hadn't installed. I have not tried again.
But see, on my computer, I desktop at home with the new video card. I can play in either mode, no problem. But on my laptop, with the integrated Intel piece of crap, right? I play in DirectX 9 mode with the hexes. And there's some graphical glitches, but it's totally smooth and it doesn't interfere with the gameplay.
See, I tried it once I was like one driver behind in NVIDIA, which actually does fix some important things for Civ.
Yep.
If you're having any trouble with Civ 5 at all, go get the newest NVIDIA drivers, like seriously.
Or whatever driver your video card is.
But specifically with NVIDIA, the most recent NVIDIA drivers fix very specific issues that
if you're a gamer of any kind, you need to upgrade your video card driver all the time.
Yes.
Whenever there's a new one.
There was a time when that wasn't true. When I had my Creative Graphics Blaster Extreme, I upgraded the driver, and that actually caused a serious problem with Quake.
Anyway. Let's talk about some of the things that I don't like in Civ 5, right?
All right.
So one thing I don't like is that the multiplayer, first of all, technologically has some issues, right?
All the multiplayers always had issues. What the fuck?
Why can't they
GameSpy?
Listen.
Why GameSpy?
They're not using GameSpy. They're using Steam.
The GameSpy logo is still there.
I don't know why the GameSpy logo is there, because it completely uses Steam for everything.
I'll bet under the hood it uses some GameSpy bullshit.
It possibly does, which is bullshit.
And again, why? Why the fuck? GameSpy is terrible.
Yeah, but regardless, whether it's GameSpy or not, their networking just doesn't really work.
And the game is slow as crap.
Why do they fucking fuck up networking?
Why do they turn off all the animations by default? There's no that's not what's slowing down the network play.
The network play is slow because your networking code is shitty.
Why does the game continuously just say, I'm going to restart and throw you all back a turn?
Everyone who's ever making a networked game, you have to make the networked code first.
Hire an IT guy.
Hire Valve's guys, because Valve's games always fucking work.
Yeah.
Multiwinia, that was a game that got fucked up by bad networking.
Well, also by the fact that they didn't have invert mouse.
Well, I mean, there were just so many games. NS2 was having huge networking problems. I think they tweeted recently that they finally figured out what it was.
Left 4 Dead, no network problems at all.
Yeah, Valve never has networking problems.
This is what
Counter-Strike, perfect.
Here's the amazing thing that really bothers me. Counter-Strike and Left 4 Dead are real-time FPSs where it really matters on the latency.
This is a turn-based game here.
Yeah, dudes.
Another thing that bothers me in multiplayer, even when it works, right?
Simultaneous.
The simultaneous mode. You know what I found out according to asking a question on the gaming equivalent of Stack Overflow?
Yes.
It's apparently whoever clicks first goes first.
That's why
That's
I
complete
always,
bullshit.
Well, here's the problem. Civ 4 and before, you could turn on or off simultaneous turn taking. I didn't look to see if you can do it in Civ 5.
Here's the problem. If you don't have simultaneous turn taking, I basically have to wait for all you fuckers to take your turns in sequence.
Not only that, but say I went first, I will always go before you.
Yep.
That'll matter when we're close to each other.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it'll only matter. The thing is, once the game gets going, let's say I attack you first. Okay, well now even though you went first, you always have a turn, ahead of me in terms of how much stuff you've made in the entire game. I have the initiative in the combat, so I attacked first, so now you're always going to be reacting because I'm always going before you. They could do something along the lines of Power Grid, right? Where the turn order is shuffled, so everyone takes a turn, and then we reshuffle the turn order.
What I would
you might actually get 2 turns in a row.
I would have a hybrid mode where the game would be simultaneous turns all the time unless, quote, it matters. And you define situations where it matters. Like, say, if you're at war and any unit you have is within range of being able to interact with any unit with the people you're at war with, and maybe a whole bunch of other situations, like anywhere around a ruin where there's anyone within range of it, all that stuff, then you switch into some sort of turn-based mode for movement, and movement only.
Here's an interesting question, right? Let's say, theoretically speaking, right? You are 1 turn away from completing the Utopia project. As soon as you click next turn, on that turn...
I click next turn first?
No, let's say you
And
click
I'm also
next,
there?
You click next turn, and on that next turn, you will have won the game with cultural victory. Let's say also, for instance, on the exact same turn, I'm one turn away from launching my spaceship. On the next turn, when I click next turn, the turn after that, my spaceship will have reached Alpha Centauri, and I will have won the game.
Yeah, you know what the answer is? Fuck you, I don't know. It's going to be terrible, and it's going to break, and we're not going to know, and someone will win randomly.
Listen, guys, you have to make multiplayer the priority here, right? You know, you have to think of multiplayer first and design the game around multiplayer, right? Because as it stands, single player and multiplayer are completely different games that have almost nothing to do with each other.
Yep.
And it's kind of bullshit. I don't like it. And it makes me...
Granted, that is not why your empire collapsed in our recent multiplayer game. Your empire collapsed because, quote my military advisor, I think I saw Egypt's only military unit. It looked lonely.
That's true. I did have few units. However, I would have done a lot significantly better, right, if the simultaneous thing had not happened, right?
Yes, you would have. You would have.
It would. I would still have lost.
Because the military you were fighting against, my advisor said the same thing about him.
His military was larger than mine, but the thing was my military was largely I was Egypt. I mostly had the horse archer Egypt guys, who are ranged attacking units, right? And they were hiding behind some warriors and some spearmen. And if I had been able to go first, I could have launched my range attacks, doing significant damage to his guys before being rushed. As it stands, he rushed me, and these units were basically completely useless if they get attacked. So he just killed the guys before they had any chance to shoot. So even, meaning that it totally mattered. But because of simultaneous turns, he clicked first.
So the option is always queue up movements before you end your turn for the next turn.
Yeah, but it was...
I know, it's bullshit, but...
It's bullshit. Anyway.
It doesn't matter. Me or Scott Johnson are going to win that game anyway.
It doesn't matter. Anyway.
Of course, I do like the thing where domination victory, and this is so board gamey, only the capitals matter, because then you can get into situations where, like in the game we're playing, Scott's dead, and it's me and Scott Johnson... I have like two massive empires. And then Alex has a pretty good empire. He's conquering the rest of Scots and consolidating. If Skojo and I go to war, the two big like world empires, and we end up taking both of each other's capitals at some point, Alex just wins.
Yeah.
I like that. That dynamic makes the game interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's not necessarily realistic.
Oh, no, it's not realistic, but it's a German board game kind of thing, which I like.
Yeah. Also, everyone's fears that the game's military would devolve into advance wars are true.
But that's not... Who says devolve? I think that's an improvement.
But it's true in that I've never lost a military conflict with anyone.
Yeah.
In any play. Multiplayer,
it's kind of sad in single player if you don't turn up the difficulty to give the computer... And even if you do, their militaries are pitiful. Like, they'll declare war on me. I'll have because basically the computer declares war on you if you're too weak and you have good stuff that they want. So you just huddle like 4 good units around where they're attacking. They attack in one spot. Maybe you have a great general out there. Maybe you even build a citadel. You can basically hold off waves and waves of units unless they're significantly better than yours.
Unrelatedly. Remember we were arguing about the benefits of the Culture Bomb? Culture Bomb Citadel.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
I realized that 10 seconds ago.
Oh, shit.
Oh, man.
But culture bombs are actually... The reason I don't use... The problem with the culture bomb, right, is like I want to use it, and if I'm at war with someone, I'll totally use it. But it's like the time that I get a great artist, we've already pushed our cultural borders right up next to each other, right? And there's no empty space. So a culture bomb will get me some hexes, which is pretty good. But it'll only get me hexes from someone I don't necessarily want to go to war with right now.
Just go to war anyway, because as I've learned in single player, just declare war on the entire world. There's nothing they can fucking do to you.
Yeah,
as long as you have
build
advanced
military.
war skills.
Yeah, you have to also build a military, right? If you build nothing but wonders and buildings, you're gonna get crushed.
Yeah, if you're Gandhi, I like how Gandhi's really peaceable. Every game I see him, and he's super nice to me, and we're really friendly, and we cooperate and trade. And once he's got a gigantic city full of wonders, I conquer it like immediately, and it's awesome. But I feel bad, and he rubs it in. After you conquer him, he's like, well, I hope you're happy having conquered a peaceful civilization with nothing but good intentions for you.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for a minute, and then I look at my wonders.
And you look at your score.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah.
I'm going to win this game. That is one thing, though, that I think is perhaps the negative in Civ 5 is the military play is actually much better because you don't have to manage it. It's not about who has most units. It's actually about moving the units.
It's about Rim wins.
Yeah, but the problem is that military pretty much dominates everything else, right?
I was going to win. I've had 2 games where this happened. I said, I'm going to go for culture victory. I was going for culture victory like the whole game. And I'm near culture victory, like 5 to 20 turns from guaranteed cultural victory. And I look and realize that I can just go conquer like 2 capitals right now because the AI sucks.
In the game I'm playing, right, I'm trying out the new Genghis Khan, right? He's got awesome mounted units. So I got all these mounted units and a great general and some musket men marching around. I totally took Arabia. I took every city they have except for one that's on the other side of Napoleon. So then I made peace with them.
No, you make peace with
And
Napoleon.
then
You get open borders. You march over
Hold
there.
on. Genghis Khan has like 25% bonus of city-states, so I conquered every nearby city-state. And the best thing is I puppeted them all. I didn't actually annex anything.
I
so,
puppet everything because there's no penalty.
Yeah, who wants to freaking actually bother managing any of this?
Unless you want to do military stuff.
I just puppet everything, and
Nope.
then if you want, you can switch from puppet to annex.
That's
at
what I'm
any time.
saying. Puppet everything, and then later, only like when you suddenly need to do something specific is the only time you should ever annex.
Yeah.
Or I always annex capitals.
And then if
because
you
I want to
annex,
manage that
if
stuff.
you annex, make sure you do it when you have a pile of money so you can get a courthouse.
Yep.
You need that
Courthouse
courthouse.
is mad important.
Anyway, but then I go and I check, and I'm looking at the advisor menu, and it says, I'm looking at how strong everyone is, and it's like Washington is on the other side of the world. I just discovered it with my caravel. It's like, yeah, don't even fuck with Washington.
Yeah.
And then, but I look, and Napoleon, who's pretty much the only person sharing the continent with me at this point, it's like, yeah, Napoleon's weak ass. You should go rape him. I'm like, Napoleon's empire is 3 times the size of mine, and I have like these 5 units. They have been upgraded like crazy because they've just been killing. They destroyed.
It amazes me how a couple of horsemen and some like bowmen used effectively can take out entire empires.
Yeah, it's like they're just so experienced from getting all these upgrades. I basically have every single upgrade that gives you plus if you have on open terrain. And then I've got plus 25% plus 25% again, and
stupid
plus 25%
Mongolians!
again. I have like 100 plus 25%, plus they're near a great general, plus another 25. And those stack on top of each other. It's basically like I shoot a guy, because the special unit has, range attack.
The Keshiks?
Yeah, the Keshik shoots arrows at guys from his horses. Just boom, any unit, just shoot him with arrows, dead, right? So I'm like, as soon as I load this game up, I'm just going to march these 6 guys over towards Napoleon, and I'm going to take over this entire gigantic continent. And basically, the way the computer fights is they'll send all their units after you. So you have to actually have some extra units to begin with to fight off their army. And as soon as you destroy their army, basically they spit out 1 unit every few turns. And
you just go city to city.
You just go city to city, puppet.
It's only hard to take them if there's 2 cities within range of each other.
And they start double bombarding you.
Yep.
Yeah, I hate that.
Usually I'll like...
That is another thing that I really love about the game is that you used to have to build a spearman in every city and then upgrade into a pikeman, upgrade into a musketman, right?
And sometimes in Civ 4, even in multiplayer, I just forget about a couple of
and
cities.
You'd have to have multiple
And then
units
Scott Johnson marches in with cavalry, and I'm like, whatever, my infantry will take care of... Oh, my pikemen are not going to take care of that.
I forgot to upgrade. I forgot to have enough guys in that city. I forgot to upgrade the guys in that city. Now, you can only have 1 unit in a city anyways. You don't have to worry about, I didn't have enough, right? But a city can defend itself. It's even if you don't have any guys near the city, it can shoot and do wicked damage. And if it has walls or something, it's going to be pretty hard for them to just take your city. They can't just sneak over with like the weak-ass military unit all on his own and just take your city because you left it empty, right? They actually have to attack a city with at least 3 or 4 guys to take it from you.
Or 2 companion cavalry.
It takes more than a turn to do it. They can't just sneak in and snatch an entire city, right? That's pretty unrealistic too, right? Like there's a whole big city here, and a tiny group of military guys just walk into the city, and now it switches countries.
Also, notice no spies. I can't just go buy an enemy city.
Oh yeah, that's I'm glad they took that out, right? That was sort of annoying and fiddly to have spies.
Yeah.
I
think they'll add it back in because one thing I really look forward to, and I think this is going to be, this game is going to be the replacement for Civ 4. When Civ 5
I thought you said it wasn't.
When Civ 5 gets its equivalent of the Beyond the Sword expansion. Because that added everything to Civ 4. And imagine Civ 5 with all that stuff just crammed into it.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty good.
Other minor weird complaints. I wish you could do more with city-states. Like, trick them, independent ones, into declaring war on people, or make them, like...
Yeah, I wish there was also more ways to gain favor with them.
Yeah, it's just money or quests.
You can give them money, or you can wait for them to randomly have a quest. And sometimes the quest is a huge pain in the ass, right? Like, someone on the other side of the world will be like, hey, make a road to me. And I'm like...
No.
I'm like, you know how far that is? You know how much I would have to pay for that fucking road? Fuck you.
And Tyre is just like, yeah, whatever.
It's not worth it to get, like, 25... favor with you that's gonna run out pretty soon anyway.
Yep.
Just, maybe you'll give me a military unit, or maybe you'll give me a few turns.
That's
worth
why
of
I think a
culture.
modern expansion
When
is
I
going
could
to
just
greatly expand
just-
upon city-states.
Why would I make a road to you or kill barbarians for you when I could just conquer you with 4 military units
Yeah.
in like 3 turns, and then you'll give me everything you've got? You know?
A lot of times they give you far less culture if you conquer them than if they're a cultural city-state and you pay them.
I know, right? But then I had to pay freaking money.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
I also don't like...
And I have to keep paying the money, a lot of it, all the
I don't
time.
know if this was a conscious decision on the designer's part or just a mistake, but how come whenever I tell a unit to go anywhere that's more than like a direct path, like I click over a distance, they will go way the fuck out of their way to go through enemy territory, to go through city-state territory. They'll embark like 10 times on all... They take the worst possible paths.
Yeah, they're not too good with the hex pathing. The worst is if there's a road near a guy, he'll like go out of his way like an extra hex to use the road. It's like I have to tell him how to move 1 hex at a time to get him to go the right way.
You'd think, all right, maybe he did that because that's the more optimal path. No, it never is.
No.
Or worse, the city-states, there are 2 paths that are completely equal in cost. He'll go through the city-state, pissing it off.
I think what they need to do in their algorithm, from what I can tell, is basically it does the shortest path in terms of cost, right? So it's like, okay, it'll cost you 3 movement points to get here, and if you go this way, and 3 if you go that way.
It doesn't...
What it needs to do is it also needs to pick the path that will use the fewest hexes. It'd be like, okay, these 2 paths from A to B cost 3 movement points. This one is 2 hexes. This one is 5 hexes. Use the 2 hex one, not the 5 hex one.
Yeah, maybe one of them is more defensive and one of is more... But then again, if you want it, if you care, you'll go do it turn by turn.
Yeah.
The real trouble is, why do they take... They should weight city-state occupied territories that aren't allies slightly negatively so my guys don't always wander in.
You have to build... Oh, that's true. Yeah, I mean, like, if you're Alex, that's one advantage. Like, I hate... It's sort of like one of those things I hate and I like, right? There are games that have annoyances. There's a lot of games that just have annoyances, and there are bonuses you can get in those games that do nothing but remove the annoyance. They don't actually give you a bonus to winning.
Like in Final Fantasy VI, wearing the item that doesn't give you a bonus, it just lets you walk fast.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's
or
like
the bike in Pokemon.
This doesn't actually give you any power in terms of winning and losing or any victory points or anything like that. All it does is make the game more convenient to play. It's like, you should just give that for free to everybody. The game would be a lot more convenient if you didn't have to click this checkbox every turn. Well, here's a bonus that takes this annoyance away. It's like, it doesn't have, everyone has the ability to click the checkbox every turn. Everyone's going to do it to make sure that they win. But one guy just doesn't have to remember to click. It's bullshit, right? There should not be things like that in the game at all.
Like the not moving military units through city-states without pissing them off. I like that mechanic.
Oh, yeah. But Alexander the Great has this thing where it's basically like, oh, yeah, be him, so you don't have to worry. You can just set your guys on auto-explore and not have to worry about them trespassing and everybody.
Yeah, but
everyone else has to manually move all their units so they don't trespass.
That power really is... I also, once I've paid the city-state, they stay mine for a long freaking time. That's the real power.
No, there's 2 different powers.
They're the same power.
No, he has a separate power, which is he can't trespass.
No, they're under the same power.
They're 2 separate effects of,
Plus, it's not that the trespassing doesn't happen. It's that the problems caused by it go back to normal at a rate that's faster than
I thought it was that you just didn't, no one cared if you trespassed.
No, you move towards 0 faster from negative and towards 0 slower from positive.
I thought that was what you get if you actually use the social. Oh man, that's something I like a lot. The freaking social stuff where you use your culture points to buy.
Yep.
The policies, because freaking it's all the other Civ games. You had to change your governments, your religion, and all that stuff, and you had to go into anarchy to do it. And that was just so fiddly and blah. But now the social policies, it's like just.
However,
upgrades.
I did enjoy the mix and match nature of Civ 4, where like. I'm this, but I'm also this. And in Civ 5, it's definitely more of a progressive thing. It's more like an alternate additional tech tree.
Yeah, well, it's like building buildings in Puerto Rico. You know,
Yep.
it's so board gamey. I love that.
I do enjoy it. I feel like they can expand upon it.
And it's so much easier to handle, and it's so much easier to think about, and the user interface of the screen that lets you pick is so much more obvious what each one does and why, you know. And,
Yep.
it's good stuff.
We should probably wrap this up. I suffice it to say,
If you're not playing Civ 5, what the fuck?
the game is awesome. It is fantastic. It's not a Civ 4 replacement, but it is a game for all time. I love it. Single player is a joke. Don't think that will prepare you for multiplayer.
The problem is if you put single player on hard, right?
It's not that the AI is good, it's that the AI just cheats.
Yeah, the AI just basically, if you put it on the hardest mode, they start with like extra war. They start with like 3 settlers, 5 workers, and you know, it's like they just start with a huge head start. It's not fair. And the AI is not any better. So if you actually manage to catch up to their head start with your military, you can just conquer them just as easily. They're not any smarter at it. They just have more big head start. That's it.
And I look forward to playing with all of you because multiplayer games in this, because everyone's trying to win really hard, and because you can't have the chump, oh, I lost my city, they're actually really fun if you get past the shit net code, the simultaneous turn bullshit, and the fact that it's randomly going to crash or like move Scott's city 1 tile to the left, even though I don't really know if that happened.
It moved it really far.
I don't know if that happened or not.
I swear to God it happened. I'm lying to you.
I don't know.
Why would I lie about that?
I don't know, but it seems literally all of a sudden Scott's like, my city moved. It's all the way over there now. And my guy moved too. And all of us are fine. We're like, what the fuck, Scott?
It moved. Anyway, I'll draw you a map if you want. Yes, if I.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.